I'm Mr. MegaManFan, and that growl you just heard means we're playing Phantom 2040 today on Genesis Does. I picked this game out entirely at random and had no idea there was such deep lore behind it. This is, in fact, the Phantom of famous comic books and radio serials and movies, although he is the 24th version of the Phantom. There have been 23 before him. He is the 24th. So 2040 is Phantom of the future, if you will. I would say, a postmodern world that's been decimated by environmental disaster, global war, rising tides, all of those fun things we have to look forward to thanks to our warming planet, right? Well, now cities have been left in ruin as a result, and New York is no longer even called New York. It's called Metropia. And there's one very powerful, very evil corporation called Maximum that is trying to not only take over Metropia, but take over the world. And Phantom 2040, aka Kit Walker Jr., is the only one who can save them from this disaster. Why he's the only one, I don't know, but that's the lore of Phantom 2040, the 24th Phantom. From the possibly biased accounts I have read online while doing research for this game, it was a critically acclaimed and well-liked series, but I question how successful it was if they only made 35 episodes. It aired from September of 1994 to March of 1996. And being a college student who on and off again had cable television at that time, I don't ever remember seeing Phantom 2040. Maybe I wasn't looking in the right places, but it doesn't strike me that it was huge in any way. But apparently it was big enough to get a Sega Genesis game, a Super Nintendo game, and a Game Gear game. So in this case, we can't necessarily say Genesis does what Nintendo don't, but I'm willing to make an exception because there are only so many games you can say that about before you start to run out of games that appeared on multiple platforms. So every once in a while, I'm going to have to tackle something like this that may have had a port to a different console. And maybe that Super Nintendo port is better because there are some things that frustrate me about this game. And maybe they're not frustrating to you, but they're frustrating to me, and I'll explain why. First of all, jumping is the C button, firing is the A button, and slinging your grappling hook, web, whatever you want to call it, that you can cling to walls and pull yourself up onto ledges with is the B button. That may not seem like a bad layout at first, but you try resting your thumb on the A button and then jumping with the C button. If you need to fire and shoot at the same time, it should be on the B button. Then you can rock back and forth between the A and the B or press both at the same time. But when firing is the A and jumping is the C, the only way I can do both at the same time is to grip the controller with both hands and press the A button with the left hand and the C button with the right hand. I can't manage to do it otherwise. That to me is a poor design choice. That's my opinion. I'm entitled to it. Then there's the fact that you run out of ammo. It's a side-scrolling run and gun game, platforming your way through and shooting hordes of enemies that seem to regenerate endlessly. Only your ammo doesn't regenerate endlessly. I'm sure that was to up the challenge factor and or make it more realistic, but since it's based on a cartoon, it's already not realistic, and it's set in the future, so it's maybe not realistic in that aspect either. So why do you need to run out of ammo? I don't understand that choice. It's the choice they made. Now again, based on the biased sources that I'm looking at, Phantom 2040 was a critically acclaimed game. Who critically acclaimed it, I don't know, but they claim it was critically acclaimed. And it was compared in the article to Castlevania and Metroid. And I find the idea that this is a Metroidvania to be an extreme stretching of the imagination. I can see that in the start menu, when you pause it, you have items that you can collect and use, which may possibly make it a little bit like a Metroidvania if you use some of those menu items to open up areas that you couldn't previously get to, which is another reason I find this game incredibly frustrating because I tried to do that. Allegedly, you can find key cards to unlock new areas, so I explored this one thoroughly, and gosh darn it, I think I picked up every single item I possibly could. Everything that looked like a key card or not. Every nook and cranny. And there is one gate all the way to the left that no matter how many different things I collect, I just can't seem to get through it. And don't blame me for not reading the manual, Ryan. One, I don't have a physical copy of this game, so I don't have the manual. And two, I actually looked this up and did exactly what I was told to do. Explore the area thoroughly and collect all the items. And it didn't help. I still end up getting stuck, unable to progress any further than I previously had. So either I'm doing something wrong, or the fact that I need a key card to get through this gate to the left is incredibly well hidden, and there's no compass to point me to which direction it might be. So maybe somebody that's more familiar with Phantom 2040 will leave a note in the comments section below saying how you're supposed to do this. But in the end, I started getting creative with it. I climbed the walls, I shot the web, I looked for ladders leading down to other areas. There are even things that look like ladders that really aren't. I checked my menu to see if I had any items that would help me. Nothing seemed to be effective. I'm not going to say Phantom 2040 is a bad game. It's probably a good game. Maybe not as good as all the gushing, critically acclaimed praise that it seems to have in every article, but I'm willing to wager that it's a decent to middling Sega Genesis game. Maybe even slightly above average if you can actually figure it out, but the button layout is not a winner. The gameplay itself feels very generic. The limited ammunition seems like a really poor design choice. And the lack of way to progress in the game without being told specifically where something is, that's just ridiculous. Take Axiom Verge 2, for example. Some people will say that game had too many hidden secrets and was also inscrutable. But in its defense, that game actually had a compass that pointed you in the direction of things that you needed. And the longer you played it, the more it became obvious that if you shifted back and forth between the breach and the overworld, it would lead you to hidden routes that you didn't previously know were there to collect even more items, which would in turn unlock even more areas that you couldn't get to before once you had the grappling hook and the ability to climb walls and the rolling blade as the drone that would smash through rocks. That's a Metroidvania. That's a game where you're rewarded for exploration by getting items that allow you to access areas you couldn't before, or to find new and creative ways to get to different areas. That's a true Metroidvania. This is not. It might be called a Metroidvania by people who reviewed it, but I can't see it that way myself. But I'm Mr. MegaManFan. This has been Genesis Does. I thank you for watching, and I hope you'll come back next week to see another game from the Sega Genesis library. Until then, peace out.